Hello everybody, this is General Yanis, and today in Death Guard Tactics I will be reviewing the Chaos Decimator and looking at the best weapon options. So with no further ado, let's have a look. The Chaos Decimator is a Forge World Demon Engine model that is in the Elite slot, and we can use it in Death Guard Codex, and the Decimator has some interesting weapons choices compared to the rest of the Death Guard arsenal. Just a short historical parenthesis, Decimator comes of course from the word decimate, which originates from the Roman punishment of legions. When a legion had behaved badly, then they could be punished by decimation, which meant that every 10th man was executed. And decimate comes from decimus, from Latin meaning 10th, and it originates or is related to the Greek word deca, which is number 10. So for example, it's used in decade, 10 years, or December in Latin is the 10th month counting from March. So closing this linguistic parenthesis. So let's see if the Decimator can do a lot of damage to the opponents. So in this video I will reviewing the Decimator and the best weapon options for long range, short range, and melee damage per point cost. So let's take a look. So looking at the base stats and the weapon options for the Decimator. So we see first the baseline stats here. Decimator is around 150 to 220 point cost depending on the loadout. It doesn't have any brackets, so this is quite good. It doesn't degrade with the wounds, so it has a good movement 10 and 10 inches, and then we have importantly that the weapon skill and the ballistic skill are 3+, which is better than the other Demon Engines in the Death Guard Codex. Strength 7 and toughness 7, 8 wounds, 5 attacks, 3+ save, and a 5+ invul save, the demonic invul save. So it's not as durable as some of the other Demon Engines, toughness 7 and only 8 wounds for a quite high point cost, but decent durability as well. But the good things are the accuracy and the movement and no brackets. Looking at some abilities, it has the Hateful Assault, which gives it additional 1 attack when it charges or gets charged, and it has also +1 attack if it's equipped with 2 melee weapons. It explodes on a 6+, giving D3 mortal wounds when it's reduced to 0 wounds, and it's at the start of each turn it can regenerate 1 lost wound, so it's increasing its durability. It doesn't have disgusting resilience, but for 1 command point we can give it, with a stratagem Contaminated Monstrosity, we can give it disgusting resilience before the battle. Looking at the weapon choices, the base Decimator has a point cost of 100. It has 2 arms, and for each arm you have 5 options of weapons basically, and in here I'm looking more that you have 2 identical for both arms for ease of analysis. The standard option is the Decimator Siegeclaw melee weapon with built-in Hellflamer, so these 2 weapons are the standard and go together. If you take both of them, then you would pay 180 points for both arms, and then the Siegeclaw is a melee weapon with +2 strength, so strength 9, AP -3 and 3 damage, which is really good against tough opponents like Terminators or Aggressors or something like this in close combat. The Hellflamer is a heavy D6 weapon with a flamer with auto hitting, so now it has 8-inch range, but I guess it should be 12-inch now. That I think all flamers should be updated to 12-inch. Strength 5, AP -1 and 2 damage, so it's a good damage flamer. So with both arms you would get 2d6 auto hits at close range. One of the options is the Decimator Laser. It's an Assault 5 weapon, 24-inch range, strength 6, AP -2 and damage 1, so nothing very special with this weapon, but some decent assault weapon. We have then a very interesting choice, the Soul Burner Petard. It's the most expensive option. If you take both of them, then you would be adding 120 points to the Decimator, so 220 points. So each Soul Burner has a 2d3 assault. So if you have both arms, you would have 4d3 shots at range 24. It's not a plague weapon, and none of the weapons of the Decimator are plague weapons. And this has very special rule that each hit it inflicts, if it makes a hit, it inflicts a mortal wound instead of normal damage. And if it gets a hit roll of 1 in a phase, then the model will suffer itself a mortal wound. But it will not, even if it hits many ones, it will just get 1 mortal wound, not many. So this would benefit from re-rolling ones or +1 to hits or something like this. But this is interesting because it's basically a weapon that only makes mortal wounds and it will make the same mortal wounds regardless of the target, just based on how many it hits. And then we have the Butcher Cannon. 2 of them are 70 points, a heavy 4 weapon, 36 inch, strength 8, AP -1, damage 2. And if a model is slain by a shot from these cannons, then the unit gets -2 leadership for the rest of the turn. So it could be maybe okay, this extra benefit. Then we have the C-beam cannon. If you take 2, it's 60 points. So it's a heavy 1 weapon, very long range, 72 inch, practically not used with today's tables, I guess. It's a strength 6 weapon, AP -3 and damage D3. And this has some interesting special rules. This beam cannon cannot be fired if the unit has moved, so it's quite limiting. But for each 24-inch distance you have to the target, you add +2 strength and +1 D3 damage. So at above 24 inch, you would be having a strength 8 and damage 2 D3. If you are above 48 inch, you would be having strength 10 and 3 D3 damage. Additionally, if a model is slain, then the unit by a shot from this cannon, then the unit will suffer 2d6 additional auto hits with strength 6, AP 0 and damage 1. So this could be nice to kill some horde or something. You kill one model and then it suffers additional 2d6 auto hits. So no plague weapons, as I said, for added synergies with the Death Gaurd. The standard is the Siege Claw and Hellflamer, and let's look. For simplicity in this analysis, I will be looking at both arms having the same weapon. So let's have a look on the type of damage the weapons can do. So here is a graph for the average damage of each weapon type, 2 of each, as I said. So in this graph that I typically use, we have the targets here with inval damage. Here you can see the average damage made by the weapon, and here are the targets with no inval save. For each batch of targets, here you have a 2+ armor save, 3+ armor save, 4+ armor save, etc. And for each of this group, you have the toughness going from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So testing a variety of targets here. So we can see here when we are not compensating for point cost, the 2 times Siege Claws that get +1 attack do considerable damage in melee. They have a very strong damage output in melee, making, let's say, 10 wounds against this type of target here. The Soul Burner, 2 times Soul Burner, will give on average 5.5 mortal wounds regardless of the target. And this can be, of course, improved with rerolls or +1 to hit abilities, but this is quite good for the very tough units, or if it's some knights or some very, very tough or very strong opponent. Basically the Soul Burner would be an interesting choice. But now let's start comparing them per point and for the different ranges. So if we start with long range damage and look at the average damage per 100 points of the model, so 24 inch. So here we see that the Soul Burner, the purple line here, gives the best option against the targets with inval save or 2+ armor saves. The C-beam cannon can do substantial more damage if it can slay a model. So you see the C-beam cannon is the green line, but if it kills a model, by the shot, then you also get the additional increase of the more 2d6 auto hit shots. So you get the bracketed the line here. So it can do a lot of damage if it can slay a model. The Butcher Cannon deals okay damage as well, is the yellow. And the Decimator lasers are the cheapest option, but quite underwhelming. It's the orange line, so it doesn't bring any specific benefit. Of course, the Siege Claws and the Hellflamer option here will not be able to do any damage in long range. Continuing in short range, so we are within 12 inches. The Soul Burner is unchanged. Again, best option for very, very tough targets or targets with invul save. The Butcher Cannon is also unchanged from before. The C-Beam Cannon is considerably weaker at the short range. We see the green line dropping because it's losing strength and damage if it's close. And the Hellflamer now option does good damage with the blue here with the Flamer. If we go to point blank shooting in melee, so the Decimator is locked in combat and it's our own turn, so we can shoot with the weapons we have. If they are heavy weapons, they get -1 to hit, but assault weapons it can fire with no penalty. And of course then it can do the melee damage. Then of course we see the Siege Claws with the Hellflamer, clearly the best option in melee combat, and point blank shooting with a Flamer for all targets. Still the Soul Burner does okay damage here. And then of course if we look at the melee only damage, for example in the opponent's fight phase, then of course the Siege Claws are definitely the best here, and the baseline model cannot do many wounds with its just user melee model, so basically Siege Claws are definitely best here. If we compare how it fares against other Daemon Engines, so if we compare the long range with the Plagueburst Crawler and the Mephitic Lightholder, which are the two best options for so far analyzed for long range Daemon Engines, here we can see that the Mephitic Lightholder and the Plagueburst Crawler, so the Mephitic Lightholder is the orange and the Plagueburst Crawler with Entropy Cannons is the blue, are still better for most targets. But the Soul Burner petard, the Soul Burner can still make many mortal wounds for very tough targets and could have a niche use. The Decimator with C-Beam Cannon can also be okay, and the green line if it slays and does additional damage. But then this is, I think, it will be tough to use because you need to be kept at long range and not move. So I think still the Plagueburst Crawlers and Mephitic Lightholders are better for long range damage, but the Soul Burner I think could find some niche use. If we compare the melee damage with the Defiler and the Fetid Blow Drone, that are the best options from the other Daemon Engines, we see the Defiler, the blue line here, is still better than per points than the Decimator with Siege Claw and Hellflamers. And the Fetid Blow Drone with a Flesh Mower is the third here. And if we look at including also the point blank shooting and melee, then we see that the Decimator has the best loadout for this, because it's Hellflamer, and the combination with a very strong melee weapon gives it a better damage output than the Defiler with a Defiler Scourge. I think even if I calculated with a Defiler taking the Flamer instead of the Defiler Scourge, the Decimator is the best option for this particular task. Finally, looking at durability, analyzing the average number of shots that the unit can take before being destroyed, and I'm assuming that we have the Ironclad Furnace nearby to give the 4+ invul instead of the 5+ invul. I think even if I didn't calculate this, then of course the relative durability stays the same. We see that the Decimator has the lowest durability per points compared to the other Daemon Engines. Basically it has only 8 wounds and a high point cost, and however it's somehow improved by regenerating 1 wound per turn, but if the opponent shoots focused fire on it, then it cannot take as much as some of the other units. And of course, the Disgusting Resilience stratagem would cost 1 command point to give it Disgusting Resilience. But if we don't give it Disgusting Resilience, it can take considerably lower amount of shots than the other Demon Engines. Here I'm comparing with the Plaguebear Scroller, the Mephitic Blackholder, the Fetid Bloodthorn with the Mower, and the Defiler, 140 points, given Disgusting Resilience here. If we give it Disgusting Resilience, we can take many more shots. Still not as much as some of the other Demon Engines. So it's not as durable. And here I have assumed the Siege Claws and the Hellflamer Decimator for point cost. If we take the Soul Burner, then the durability per 100 points gets even worse. So final thoughts and summary. The Decimator is an interesting choice for the elite slot, and by taking an elite slot, it does not compete with the other Demon Engines for the fast attack and the heavy support. So we could add Decimators or other elites and combine them with, for example, Plaguebear Scrollers, Defilers, and Fetid Bloodthorns and Mephitic Blightholders. The advantages of the Decimator are its very good base accuracy of 3+. It doesn't have any brackets, and it has some interesting weapons. The disadvantages is that it doesn't have Disgusting Resilience, so it will cost us command points to give that this. It doesn't have any plague weapons. It's quite expensive, and it has lower durability than the other Demon Engines. The Decimator with Siege Claws and Hellflamers can do a lot of damage in short range and melee, some of the best compared to the other Demon Engines. The Decimator with the Soul Burners is expensive, but does high mortal wounds damage versus all types of targets, basically regardless of the target. So this could be very good against the very elite opponents. I'm thinking maybe Knights or something where if we have 3 Decimators, we could basically kill some very big units with Soul Burners, but it's quite expensive. Then we would be using 660 points for 3 Decimators, but we will be on average be able to do 15.5 or no. So more, yeah, we will be able to do more than 16 wounds, mortal wounds on average per round. So this is quite good. The Decimator with a C-beam cannon can do some good damage in long range, but it's quite limited in it cannot move and shoot, and it's really worse than the other options at shorter ranges. So with this final thoughts and summary, it concludes the video. What do you think about the Decimator? Have you had any experience using it on the battlefield, and what is your experience with the Decimator? If you like this video, please press like and leave some comments on the video, and also please subscribe to the channel, because I will be posting more Death Guard tactics videos going forward. So with these words, General Yanis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye bye.